Page 144, Amazing Grace. We're using a finger substitution here, and I'll explain that more in just a moment. Let's look this piece over. It's 4 lines long, treble and bass clef, 1 sharp in the key signature. We're in the key of G major. So go ahead and do the scale for G major. And you go ahead and do the scale for E minor also. You haven't had E minor yet, but it has 1 sharp also. So just do that scale. 1 octave up and down is fine. 3/4 time with a pickup beat. And we got, what, quarter notes, half notes, eighth notes. We can do all that, I think. We're moving around a bit. And like I said before, we have that finger substitution. So I want to talk about that. Right hand first to get the fingering and the notes and the rhythms. You're starting with 1 here and 3 here. See, a lot of times when figuring out your fingering, you got to look at a few notes, not just 1 note to see, because you're not in a nice 5-finger position. You may be spread out a little bit, and that's what this is. You're here in this position with G on that, and it's 3-1 because we're coming in on beat 3. 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and. Get the idea? Second finger comes down. Now in the second line, first measure, you see the 3-1 fingering. There's an asterisk. That's just for a footnote. Forget the asterisk. I'm going to explain it. You're going to play the note with third finger, and while you're holding it down, you're going to put first finger on it. You substituted another finger. We switched fingerings. This is another way we change hand positions. And here. So we want to play it connected with the fingers is what we're after here. And I do a lot of finger substitutions. Some people don't, but I encourage them. So and you ought to be able to substitute any finger for any finger. We'll get there. And here. And now you're in position for the rest of the line. There are other fingerings we can use where we don't need to do the fingering substitution, but we need practice. So let's do this. The fingering in the book is fine. Now in the last 2 measures of the second line, you play the D. Notice that's tied. So you're going to hold that down as you're playing these other notes. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. See, while I'm holding that down. Different voices. You see the notes in the bottom clef, they were coming up. Well, that's that voice, and it just kept coming up. And then third line, 1 and 2 and a dotted quarter note. 1 and 2 and. Now we're going the other way. You play with thumb and then put third finger on it. This is the third line, second measure. Here, and that way we're in position. And that they say now third finger again, because we really need to be in this position. So we're not quite where we need to be yet, so we're going to have to move again. So it's third. Now we're in position. And now they want you to lift up. I would prefer not to. I'll just use the thumb, and we can get away with it because it's a new phrase, but I would still like to connect it. So I'm going to just stay there. Here and do the 2, 5, and then hold that down and put the thumb on it. Here. So now I'm in this position. See, the fingering in the book, they want you in this position. But I'm telling you to go to this position, because this position takes you to the rest of the P. You got a G at the end. This up here. If you're here, you can reach that G. If you're here, you can't. You got to move again. I don't want to move anymore and I have to. So I'm suggesting the end of the third line, it's 2, 5. And then we'll hold the 5 down, put the thumb on it. Just scrunch up a little bit, put the thumb on it. Again, here. And then you just reach up. You don't have to move. You can move, there's a rest. I just don't like to move my hand if I don't have to. Left hand's broken chords. You're up here in the G. Rest. Now you have to move. Just reach down. Rest. Rest. They say 2, 1. You can do 3, 1. I mean, you're there. Your third finger's there. You can do it. rest. I see no reason for 2 on that last measure of the first line. 3 is fine. Next line you got to come up again to do it again. Next line, last 2 measures. This is the 3rd line down, you're here. 3rd measure. Rest. I come up here. You're moving around some in the left hand. That's fine. You stretch out. I want to connect these. You don't have to cover it all at one time. With people with small hands, you can't anyway. So you're just kind of moving the hand up as you go. Here to here and then here. See, I'm not covering that anymore. I've come up here. Don't come way up, but do the best you can. If it helps you to use 3rd finger, you can, but then that's a stretch. So you may have to here and then move. I'm moving the hand up as I go up. Put the hands together. It's here, here. Make sure you lift up in the left hand for the rest. Again. See, on 2nd line, 1st measure, I'm doing this right immediately. See, that D's down the whole time. 3rd line down. Lift the left hand up when you play the 8th note D. Here and then here. Lift up there. Idea. You put the hands together and then go back through the trouble spots and get rid of the hesitations. You probably have to look down at the keyboard quite a bit here because the left hand's moving around. But don't look down any more than you need to. As far as the articulation goes, you have phrasing in the right hand. Lift up. Lift up. Up, just slight lift up, and the left hand you're connecting them except for the rest. Dynamics, well, I was again messing it up. The MF is what you need. You can cross out the P. You don't need it. The dynamic given applies to the melody. Whatever you think moderately loud is, mezzo forte. Everything else needs to be in the background. That's all it is. See, these, we want to hear it, but it's got to be softly in the background because it's too easy to drown out the right hand. I mean, the left hand just ruins it. You got to keep it way soft. Plenty of weight on the right hand, very light on the left hand. And that's about all they give you till the very end when it's piano, the last note. This comes up when you play that. It sounds like this. All of that is like one big broken chord. The melody ended here. So we want that to sound like that. Just to continue. There, so there, yeah. And again, for this dynamic thing, you do that when practicing the scales. Practice playing one hand loud and the other hand soft. And then take turns as to which hand is loud. Speed, it's in the middle. It's a gentle piece. You don't want the half notes to last too long, but you don't want to rush the eighth notes. So it's got to be a balance in between. Now they've added pedal. You don't need pedal on this. You do it just fine with the hands. But they've added it. So let's take a look and see. Now if I pedal it just the way they're showing, this is what it sounds like. You listen very carefully to the sound. Again, this is why we learn it without pedal first. So that when we add pedal, we understand the difference in the sound. It's going to be overlapping pedal and lag pedal, so the notes go down first and then the pedal. I'm going to change the pedal after I play the notes in the measure. That's their pedaling they want. At the end of the line, I'm going to lift the pedal up with the right hand so I hear the phrase. And I don't pedal that beat, and then lift it up at the end of the second line so we hear the phrase, and don't pedal that beat. Into the third line, same thing. Lift the pedal up. They're showing it pedaling all the way through. I'm going to lift it up with the right hand so I hear the phrase. Yeah, I want to hear the phrasing. So the pedaling they're offering isn't too bad. You can experiment a little bit. Maybe we want to hear the rest in the left hand. Well, if you do that, you lift the pedal up with the left hand for the rest. Here. To me, that's too much. The last two measures of the second line, this is too much. It's like, what are we doing? This is supposed to be sweet and pretty. So what we can do here is a couple things. You have a rest in the left hand. You can lift up for the rest like you've been doing. Here, and not pedal that one. You don't need to pedal the last measure. You have to listen to the sound and the effect the pedal is having, and what do you like? So there's no right or wrong answer. It's this. Many times in piano, when I have these little runs like this, I will pedal the first part of the run and then lift the pedal up on the last part of the run to clear it out. And I do that a lot. It just clears it out. So you might try that. If you do that, lift up on the third beat of that measure. And don't pedal that measure then you can. That's another way of pedaling it. You have to experiment. You decide, or your teacher will decide for you. That's fine too. I tend to want to put a little retard at the end. I felt it, I did it. That's interpretation. When you get into the music, you start feeling it, and you'll find you get a little louder and softer in places because you feel them that way. I put a retard at the end because I felt it. Also, make sure that you're feeling the natural accent at the beginning. It's to hear. Otherwise, the listener might think the first note is the first beat of the measure, and it isn't. It's to hear. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So the natural accent, make sure you can feel those. Exaggerate them if you need to at first, but it's important that you feel them. Let's play this together slowly and double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm going to pedal it as I suggested. And I'll give us 2 counts, and I'm not doing any dynamics. I'll play both hands about the same. Now let's just try it. Ready and go, and 3 and 1.